Welcome everyone to the NoDQ.com live recap of Monday Night Raw for May 26th, 2025. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. I very much appreciate your viewership and support. Now, let's get into Raw. We're coming off Saturday night's main event, and we do have Money in the Bank very soon. Money in the Bank less than 2 weeks away now. We opened up the show with what I think should be called the Dangerous Alliance, but they still don't seem to have a name for whatever reason. Paul Heyman, along with Seth freaking Rollins, Braun Breaker, and the newest member of their group, Big Bronson Reed. Paul Heyman put over Braun Breaker as a future main eventer, said that's not a prediction. That is a damn spoiler. Then he put over Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed went after Seth Rollins because WWE was afraid of putting Reed in there with the top stars. Heyman brought up how Reed did more in one night to Seth Rollins than CM Punk and Roman Reigns combined. Then Seth Rollins spoke. The crowd was chanting OTC and you sold out. Seth Rollins was confused by the you sold out chant. He was like, who did he sell out to, himself? He said that he is the only person capable of leading the company to the future, and he vowed to qualify for Money in the Bank and pick up the win. And that was the opening segment here. Seth Rollins set up the main event segment, another qualifying match. It was a good promo. I enjoyed Paul Heyman's work on the mic, putting over Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Solid opening to the show. And I do agree with Matthew in the chat that I feel like it dragged on a little bit, but that's because they kept milking the chants. They were even chanting FU Rollins, and it was getting censored for some reason, even though it's Netflix. All right, we got a $5 super chat here from Hamp Kano, who has been very critical of the WWE product as of late. He says, this is the worst product they have ever put on television. He says he would rather have hot boiling water, hot lava, something poured in his anus than to sit through one more show. What are you trying to be, the angry video game nerd here, wanting to have hot boiling water poured in your anus? You have obviously never seen 1994 to 1995 WWF, because anybody that lived through that era would never say that this era is worse. But thank you, Hamp. I appreciate the super chat. I very much disagree with you. In fact, I strongly disagree with you. It is far from the worst product they have put out. And this is somebody who's been watching 40 plus years. We opened up the show with Penta versus Dragon Lee versus Chad Gable as the first match of the night. Another Money in the Bank qualifying match. Really good stuff here, even though there were multiple scary moments in this one. The Kingo was out there at ringside. More on him in just a moment. But there was one point where Penta picked up both guys and dropped them, but Chad, he took a nasty fall, and I was scared for him. But thankfully, he immediately popped up. The referee checked on him, and he was right back into it. So Chad was all right, but it was scary. And then Chad Gable got the upper hand, and he taunted Vikingo, who was at ringside. And then Dragon Lee came out of nowhere with this crazy dive, sending Penta over the table. And Pat McAfee's reaction was hilarious. I loved that. And Gable took a cheap shot at Vikingo. And then later on in the match, Gable regained the upper hand, but Vikingo got his receipt. He He attacked Gable, and then Penta hit the Destroyer to Dragon Lee, which sent Lee out of the ring. And then Penta finished off Gable with the Penta driver, got the 1-2-3 victory. Chad Gable was busted open from something in this match. I'm not even sure what it was, but nonetheless, I thought it was a really entertaining match. These guys were going all out. They made the most of their minutes. Not the longest match, but they made every minute count. And I thought it was one of the better Raw TV matches of the year, even though it was a bit intense and maybe a little dangerous, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Penta advances to Money in the Bank. I think that's the right call. He'll be entertaining in that match. We had Roxanne Perez backstage offering some more nuggets for Dominic Mysterio, but then we got the return of Liv Morgan. She is back. She finished her movie, and things were getting heated. Liv said things were going to be interesting now that she's back, and Finn Bálor just had this hilarious grin on his face. He was enjoying the drama, and we'll see where this goes. Liv is back, and we're definitely in line for some fireworks, I'm thinking. Pat McAfee and Michael Cole gave a shout out to the soldiers for Memorial Day, and we got a video package narrated by Cody Rhodes. Very classy stuff. And on another note, I don't think they said anything about Jim Ross, who is having surgery. He has colon cancer, and he's having surgery. I don't think WWE said anything, which is very surprising to me that they did not wish him well on television. I don't know what that's about, but I would like to say best wishes to Jim Ross, the greatest ring announcer of all time, and hopefully he's all right and he comes back and can continue being involved in wrestling. We had Rusev versus Tozawa, which was exactly what it should have been. It was a very quick squash. Tozawa tried to get in some offense, but Rusev quickly beat him with the kick followed by the accolade. He kept on the hold, and then after the match, Sheamus showed up and had a little stare down with Rusev, but then Rusev got out of the ring, walked away from Sheamus. But we'll definitely be getting that match at some point. And yeah, it was short, but to the point, accomplished what it needed to, set up the Rusev versus Sheamus feud. Backstage, Jey Uso and Sami Zayn were talking, and Jey told Zayn to be smart about this situation with Seth Rollins and gave him a pep talk for the Money in the Bank qualifier. We then had New Day versus the Viking Raiders versus the Creed brothers for the tag team titles. Everybody was brawling before the match could even get started. The Raiders tossed Kofi over the top onto everybody, and then Ivar was body slammed onto everybody from the apron. But New Day and Creeds were able to slow the Raiders' momentum down. They were working together throughout the match, and the Raiders were able to make a comeback, but then Julius sent out Ivar, and at this point, Kofi rolled up Julius and got the 1-2-3 victory, retaining their titles, double-crossing the Creed brothers. So it was fine for what it was, and yes, New Day, they were wearing attire inspired by Giant Gonzalez of all people. Very interesting. Entertaining stuff here, and you know, we'll get the Creed brothers probably going for the titles at some point. It was fine. We had Liv and Raquel backstage mocking Io Sky and Kairi Sane, specifically Kairi Sane for losing her Money in the Bank qualifier. And then Kairi wanted a match with Liv, and that was set up for later. We had Jey Uso come into the ring for a promo, the world champion, hyping up Money in the Bank, but he was quickly interrupted by Gunther. And Gunther said that Jay is a great human being, but again, doesn't have what it takes to be champion. His attitude is terrible for a champion. He needs to think about himself instead of trying to help others. And Jay said he's tired of being judged. He said he's not overlooking Gunther, but he is going to make Gunther tap out again. And it wasn't the best Jay promo. He did seem like he was losing his thought process a little bit. It kind of felt like a repeat of their previous promo, just not as good. Segment was so-so for me. Felt like rehash of what they already did, just trying to fill time until this match that they announced way in advance. So there you go. We had Liv Morgan coming back from her movie versus Kairi Sane. And Kairi had a strong start, but then she kicked the ring post by mistake, and then Liv powerbombed her on the floor. Then after the commercial break, Kairi started to make a comeback. Then Liv regained the upper hand with a code breaker from the second rope, but Kairi kicked out of that. Kairi avoided the Oblivion and then went for the insane elbow, but then Roxanne Perez pushed her off the top rope. Raquel, who was out there, she was upset with Roxanne, and Liv was distracted. She tried to hit Oblivion, but Kairi blocked it and then rolled up Liv and got the 1-2-3 victory. Kairi wins and, gets her win after losing last week. We had the unfortunate injury to Zoe Stark. This week, Kairi picks up the win over Liv. And, it creates more tension with the Judgment Day. So I liked that. I thought that was well done with Raquel and Roxanne. Shout out to Building Nexus, who sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Said Pat McAfee said slobber knocker earlier. Well, good on Pat for finding a way to reference Jim Ross. Pat McAfee's a good guy, and I'm sure he's thinking of Jim Ross, as we all are. Again, best wishes to JR. And I just wish WWE would have acknowledged JR on the show, give him some well wishes. We had Lyra Valkyria come into the ring, the women's IC champion. And she said Becky Lynch talked herself into a rematch. Liv said this time it's personal. She is going to hurt Becky and break her ego. And then Becky came out there, said she was done with Lyra. But then Lyra had to do what she did. And now Becky said that she is going to beat Lyra. And if she fails, she will never challenge for the title again. And Liv said that is fine. But then Becky added that if she does win, Lyra has to raise her hand. Kind of a lame stipulation, if you ask me. I don't know. I feel like it's time to move on from this. I don't know if this means Becky's winning the title now. The promo from both of them was okay, but definitely feels scripted to me, especially Lyra. She comes off like somebody who is memorizing her scripted lines. Like, it doesn't really feel authentic, like real back and forth dialogue. What wasn't my favorite segment. Like, I just feel like they're not hitting with the promos. The match they had at Backlash was good, but the mic work and the storyline just hasn't really clicked for me. And backstage, Liv Morgan was very upset, but she actually blamed Raquel, saying that Raquel was the victim, or not the victim, the veteran, and should have known better and should have known what was going on and failed to do so. We had Karrion Kross backstage with Sami Zayn, and Kross got a big pop, but they're still not letting him go out there and talk and let him do anything. It's very weird. Maybe they're trying to recreate the LA Knight movement, where if you don't really push the guy all that much, the grassroots movement will build and build. And maybe that's what WWE's trying to do. They're waiting. They just want to keep getting people cheering for Karrion Kross. And then, one of these days they're going to pull the trigger on him and give him the big push. We'll see. But Sami Zayn said he's not going to deal with Kross right now. He'll take care of him later. Kross is like, you're never going to win the world title, blah, blah, blah. And then we had our main event of the evening, which was Seth Rollins versus Sami Zayn versus Finn Bálor in another Money in the Bank qualifying match. And I forgot to mention, before we get to that, they showed the graphic for Vikingo versus Chad Gable. And on the graphic, it said it's for the AAA Mega Championship, which is interesting because Vikingo is not the champion right now. The current champion is everybody's favorite wrestler, Alberto Del Rio. They are scheduled to have a match, Del Rio and Vikingo, this weekend for the title. I think that was a spoiler and perhaps was an intended spoiler from WWE. I mean, I think that it was a given that Del Rio was going to be losing the title. I don't know if it necessarily means he is going to be involved with WWE. He may not, but yeah, I'm not really surprised by this. And I would be shocked if this was a complete accident. I feel like they just want to start advertising it as a title match now and build it up. We had our main event, Rollins, Zayn, and Bálor. And pretty good match here with these guys, very competitive. Everybody trading near falls, doing their big moves. Sami Zayn with the Blue Thunder Bomb got the win. No, he didn't. Of course he didn't. Bálor took out both guys, and then he went for the coup de grace, but missed. He got stopped by Rollins, and then Zayn hit the haluva kick to Rollins, but then, surprise, surprise, the triple threat matches, you know how this goes. Braun Breaker pulled him out, and then Bronson Reed went after Zayn. Jey Uso came out there to make the save, but he got hit with a spear, and then Dominic Mysterio came out there. He slid a chair into the ring for Finn Bálor, but as Bálor was going to grab it, Seth Rollins gave Bálor the stomp on the chair, picked up the 1-2-3 victory to officially advance to Money in the Bank. That's interesting. Seth Rollins is in it now. And after the match was over, CM Punk's music hit. Breaker and Bronson Reed walked up by the stage, or the entrance where, there wasn't a stage this week. They had the minimal set, just that little LED screen for the entranceway. They did the small set or stage or entrance, basically just the screen. They had a big crowd this week, 10,000 fans in Tampa. They did the 3 shows. Anyways, Bronson Reed and Breaker went up there, and then CM Punk slipped into the ring and laid out Seth Rollins with the GTS. Stupid heels got outsmarted, as it should be. CM Punk should be outsmarting the heels. They fell for the oldest trick in the book, but nonetheless, CM Punk got one over on them and taunted them in the crowd. I enjoyed the show. I haven't seen Battleground yet, by the way. I haven't been able to catch up on that. Hopefully this week I'll be able to watch it. I've only seen clips of the main event. Overall, I thought Raw was good. It wasn't great. It felt like it did drag a little bit. These Money in the Bank qualifiers, I am not the biggest fan of them. They just feel like time filler, but I was enjoying the Judgment Day storyline. I like that one. We're starting to heat things up with Seth Rollins' group. So there were some solid things on the show. It was a pretty good Raw. I know Hamp didn't like it, but I did enjoy it for the most part. I will go 7 out of 10 for this one. I think it was a good Raw. And, they set up Money in the Bank. That's picking up. They also set up some things for the AAA show, The Worlds Collide. It was ineffective 2.5 hours, in my opinion. Not the best, but solid. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching the stream tonight. I appreciate it. And if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. And I got some new content coming up to the channel. We got the premiere of 2 new shows on the No DQ YouTube channel. Roundtable and Wrestling's Hottest Audacious Takes. So make sure you guys check out both of those videos, which will premiere Tuesday, May 27th on the No DQ channel. And let me know your thoughts on those videos. I hope you enjoy them. Take care, everybody. Enjoy your week. Stay safe out there. Say yes to NoDQ.com. And I will see you all next time.